Hello and welcome to De-risking Business Adoption of AI. Today we are going to be talking to Dr. Damodar Sahu, and very excited to bring to you not only what are the some of the concerns we have about are we building AI systems that are secure, but also, how can we leverage AI for solving issues that are so complex because of the type of data we are collecting, the amount of data we're collecting, that it is not possible to rely on existing mechanisms to create the right security and privacy posture around that. This particular, as you know, this podcast is on trustworthy AI, and I usually cover one of the eight essential pillars of trustworthy AI that I had created for helping businesses de-risk their adoption of AI. In this particular podcast, we'll focus on two of the foundational elements, which are cybersecurity and privacy, basically of protecting data and looking at behavioral and AI and how we can use that for, as I mentioned, de-risking the business environment. So, Dr. Sahu, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me, Pamela.
Absolutely. Please give us a background on, what is your focus and who you are.
Sure, sure. Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate. Hello, audience. I am Damodar Sahu. I am based in Troy, Michigan, but I settle in between California and Michigan. My headquarters is in Santa Clara, California. I lead the growth office at Data Safeguard, and I lead a couple of profiles like alliances and partner ecosystem, marketing, analyst, and investor engagements. So what do we do? We are an AI empowered SaaS company in data privacy and synthetic fraud prevention solutions. We are solving data privacy and synthetic fraud global challenges, eliminating regulatory fines, preventing fraud losses, protecting data breaches, and building consumer confidence. Right. So our we are dedicated to helping organizations achieve compliance with various data privacy regulations, including GDPR. You are well familiar with your California Consumer Protection Act. Now it's called CPA, NIST, HIPAA. Recently, India also passed the law called DPDP Act, India DPDP Act, and PCI. By offering robust solutions for managing, safeguarding customer data. Additionally, our synthetic fraud solutions play a pivotal role in preventing fraud losses by identifying and thwarting the use of fabricated identities for fraudulent activity. If you see today's business
Okay.
landscape, sorry, any question?
No, I just wanted to
Yeah,
kind of delve
yeah.
deeper into what is synthetic fraud. Can you talk about
Absolutely,
that?
absolutely. I was coming to that. Let me touch upon the data privacy before going to synthetic fraud. If you see, data privacy refers to the protection, responsibly handling of individual personal information. We call it PII, right? What
Right.
it does, encompasses the practice, laws, regulation that any governing body, and how organizations collect, store, use, and share data, particularly data that can be used to identify any individual. Let's say me as a Damodar Sahu, right? And this information include your name, address, phone number, email address, financial data, let's say your social security, DL, and many. There are 40 plus elements, or normally the organizations, including government, anybody talk about financial institution, retail, your communication, telecom, everybody use it. And why it is important? Because uh, uh, trust and reputation, your legal compliance. Coming to the ethical responsibility. Let me talk about more on the synthetic fraud part, right? You asked me. So let's say, for an example, what is synthetic fraud? Synthetic fraud is basically a type of identity theft where fraudsters create entirely fictitious identities using a combination of real and fabricated information. Let's say my name, somebody's SSN number, somebody's email ID, somebody's address, right? Unlike traditional identity theft, where someone steals an existing person's identity, synthetic fraud involves inventing a new, non-existing person's identity, and it involves inventing a new and completely combination of real social security number fabricated with other names and address and other details. That creates a synthetic identity.
Okay, that's really important to
Yeah,
outline. So thank you, and thanks. And that's why I was jumping ahead to
sure.
synthetic fraud, because I know privacy is definitely a concern, and we know what is involved in PII, for example, name and
Yeah,
address, right? But it is how you combine that, which I think is fantastic that you're talking
yeah,
about the synthetic fraud, and because we are seeing that out
right.
there. And I'm very interested in also learning about how you see that shaping up in the future.
Absolutely.
Meaning, what is the importance of privacy, the PII protection, the way we are not only
Yeah,
creating a lot of it from so many different sources, but how it's merging together, and in terms of fraud, for example, the synthetic fraud
yeah.
aspect. What do you see? How Where do you see that going
Absolutely,
in the future?
absolutely. If you see the today's what is the business landscape and the challenges, and that's why if you see all governments, including emerging countries like India, they have already have their own consumers' personal data, right? So, as I told you, data privacy and synthetic fraud represented two formidable challenges. All organizations, including government, they face mounting pressure to secure customer data and curb the fraud losses. You know, and how the AI ML engine, let's say in our case, we call it cognizable computing engine (CC). It's a AI ML platform that powers data privacy family of products. Let's say we can talk about, let's say, redact, masking, as well as synthetic
Right.
fraud software. Both the technology combined together, you can protect the data protection, ensuring the security and privacy of a sensitive information. I talk about what are the sensitive information. So how we can meticulously
Right.
craft it for unparalleled accuracy and empower each and every organization to surmount the challenges by fortifying data security and preventing fraud. Of course, as an
Thank
individual, we
you.
also
That's
play a
really
major role where you need to share your data, where you should not. Yeah, what do you?
right. Right. So that is very important. As I mentioned in the beginning, that we are talking about going to focus on two things. One is, how do we make sure we're not increasing our exposure as we are creating artificial intelligence systems, because these systems feed on data, and there is a lot of personally identifiable information or other sensitive information that a company produces, which is absolutely critical to protect and define the right access to it. This could include things such as intellectual property as well. So there is a lot of information which is sensitive to in environment, and as we are creating more and more data sources and combining and merging them in a particular environment for a AI or a ML system, what can we do to protect ourselves from exposing this data? So, we talked about two things so far. One is privacy and synthetic fraud. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about how do you protect data intelligently? How do you use AI to uh, protect the sensitive data and you know prevent its exposure intelligently?
Truly. Uh, any PII is a data that can be used to find a specific individual. Let's say my all data with any of the corporate, bank, insurance, healthcare, right? That identify as Damodar Sahu, right? If somebody wants to take this data, that data breach happens. Somebody will hack the entire system, take it, right? If I enable that organization to either mask or redact my data before it gets breaches, then the guy, the hacker, the fraudster, though he will get my data, but as my data are either masked or redacted, so they cannot identify me as a Damodar Sahu. It will come as a bubble, man. So that actually,
So, how are you doing
okay.
that
So before
programmatically,
it
Dr. Sahu?
moves from one stage to other stage, we are not going to touch upon the production live environment. But once it moves out of that, where people normally do the data breach and that they hack the system and take it, and before it takes, we will either redact it or mask it, so they get the bubble data. So that bubble data is of no use to them. So that actually we enable them, and it's all real time enterprise high volume data in any form.
Okay. And that's the part I really wanted to kind of highlight, right? Because that is extremely important, that it is done in a fashion that is seamless and is not something that has to be adding, more to the process or more steps. And, the more intelligent and the more seamless it is going to be, the easier it will be to
Yeah,
adopt it. And that's something I really wanted to highlight. And I think that's really important for me to understand how you're doing it, and how you are, if you are seeing any use cases that you might want to share
absolutely,
around that.
absolutely. In today's digital world, PIA is more valuable than ever before, because we have social media, we have smart devices, including cars, connected cars, smart car, your autonomous vehicle, right? Including your all smart devices, meaning watch, your phone, anything you are using at home, your AI, maybe be, Google, Alaska, whatever you are using it, right? These are all, I can say, the ticking
Mhm.
bomb, right? And it can be used to target individuals with advertisement that you are getting your when you see YouTube, you get that ad, right? And that's why you see a lot of emails coming, and it's get track your entire movement, where you are driving, with whom, where, and what you do in this beautiful world, even to steal your identity. As a result, it is important that we should protect our PII from unauthorized access, right?
Right,
In
right.
recent years, if you've seen, there have been high profile data breaches involving companies that store PII. For an example, 2013, Yahoo was hacked. I'm talking about 2013, then 17, if you see QFX, and there are a lot of 140 million Americans' data was stolen earlier, and it is increasing day by day. In 2023, I think because of the Privacy Act, and all the most of the organizations are actually penalized. This year, I feel it would be 30 billion penalties to over 300 corporates. So these data breaches are a reminder
Wow.
that our PII is vulnerable to attack. And while there are steps, still we can protect our PII, such as using strong password, keeping our software up to date. There is a regulation that also devices will not compromise to some point, but still the data breaches are happening. And the fraudsters are so intelligent that they can steal the data, right? So we should not fear the fact that our devices actually get time bomb in terms of PII. And if somebody is monitoring you while driving, driving pattern to your every activity you do within a car, it get breaches. That's a very horrible situation, right? Uh, in
Right.
case of adults, fine. In case of students, teenagers, their data are compromised in that way. So yeah, so we can talk more and more, but yeah, so we are there to protect the PII or PHI in healthcare environment, right? Your patient data, your health records, right? And if you see in US alone, 95% of health records are compromised. How we can protect that PII, PHI there? That is what we work on.
Right.
It's all AIML technology and real time and enterprise and huge volume of data you can protect it.
Right. I think the important thing for me I want to highlight is that it can be done in real time, and that it can be done
Yeah.
algorithmically as opposed to looking for particular signatures. Um, that's really what we are aiming for, right? The real value comes from getting away from the old ways of looking for signature based, technology, the way the you know signatures work, for example,
Yeah.
right? The regex approach, that's not going to work for the kind of data that we are, the kind of systems we're using, the kind of system we're building, the kind of data we are producing. So that brings me to my next
Okay.
point, our final thing, that point that we wanted to cover. So we've talked a little bit now about the essential pillar of building data and protection as we are building out AI systems. Let's take a pivot now to behavioral
Okay.
AI, which is something that is, I would say, it's more dynamic for that changing environment that we are talking about. Where again, going back to that signature based approach of looking at what is happening in the environment. Is it based on keys, for example? Is it based on regular patterns that we do look for, codes, signatures, identity? um, that is good, but not does not work for a highly dynamic environment that we have today. So that's where behavioral AI can really play a big part. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, behavioral AI is nothing but a part of a entire artificial intelligence that focus on understanding, analyzing, and predicting human beings, individuals, or the group of people are likely to act in different situations. Let me give you a couple of examples.
Hmm. 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 Okay, so thank you. That's been very informative, and I like the fact that we have covered um, not only, like I said, how to build these systems, AI systems, with a foundation of protection around data, which is absolutely key, protecting the sensitivity and exposure of data, but also how to use anomaly AI for detecting what is the pattern that we can predict, and also the value that you can get from maybe aberrant behavior. So really scaling to fit the requirements within a company. So I do appreciate all the time. And of course, if there are any questions on how to take the trustworthy AI elements and really create that right strategy, that's what I'm here to help you with. Happy to talk further about that. And Dr. Sahu, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.